Escape to the warmest place in Santa Fe tonight. A quiet bookshop with a glowing fireplace, a cup of hot ginger tea, and the gentle silence of falling snow waiting just for you. This is a calm sleep story for adults, told in a soft, unhurried voice with a slow, steady pace to help you relax and drift toward rest. Snow has been falling in a thin, quiet way all evening, softening the edges of the Adobe buildings along the narrow street. The sky above the high desert feels low and velvety, clouds hiding the stars, the air just cold enough that your breath shows when you exhale. You walk slowly, boots touching down in patches of powder that hush each step, the kind of hush that helps the noise of the day fall a little farther behind you. Ahead, the bookshop waits, with its deep-set windows glowing a steady amber. Light spills onto the sidewalk in a gentle rectangle, bright against the dim street, and you can see the suggestion of shelves and spines through the wavy glass. For a moment, you simply stand there, letting your shoulders loosen as you look at the warm color on the snow. You draw in a slow breath through your nose, letting the cool air fill your chest. Then you let it out in an easy, unhurried stream, a little longer on the exhale, as if you're already practicing how to release the day. The air brushes past your lips, and with it go small leftovers of conversation, errands, and lists that don't need your attention anymore tonight. The Adobe wall beside the door holds the chill of the evening, its textured surface catching a thin crust of snow along the base. Overhead, dark vigas jut from the facade, the old beams catching light from a street lamp and the shop windows. The wooden door is painted a muted, weathered color, and around its frame someone once carefully pressed a row of small tiles, each one holding a different shade of faded red or blue. Their edges are worn smooth, as if years of hands and winter coats have brushed by. You reach for the metal handle and feel how cold it is against your fingers. The metal cooled to match the air outside. For a tiny beat, you pause with your hand there, one more chance to notice how still the street is. No cars pass. Somewhere down the block, a single tire hisses on the wet pavement, then fades. The snow keeps its soft drift, quieting everything in sight. Inside, a muted glow waits, and you step through the doorway. The bell above the door gives a small, friendly chime, the kind of sound that doesn't startle, only lets the room know you've arrived. Warmth reaches you first, a gentle envelope of air that smells faintly of paper, a trace of pinyon wood, and a little dust that has settled into the building over time. The floor beneath your feet changes from the powdery sidewalk to worn tile. Slight dips in the surface tell stories about where people have walked the most, slow and unhurried, pausing at certain shelves over and over. The air in here holds a comfortable heat that eases the cold from your cheeks and fingers. Somewhere nearby, a small stove ticks as its metal expands and settles, a quiet, regular sound under everything else. From behind a counter near the back, the bookshop owner looks up. They don't call out or wave you over, just give a gentle nod of hello, a small, familiar welcome that says you're known here without needing words. Their attention drifts back to the book in their hands, leaving you free to move at your own pace. You let the door close behind you with a soft click, and the outside world is suddenly distant. Snow is still falling out there, but now it's only something you see afterward, through glass, instead of feeling it on your skin. The walls are thick, built to hold warmth close, and you can sense how the building presses back against the cold, steady and sure. Take another slow breath in, just enough to fill your lungs comfortably. Let your shoulders lift a little, and then let them drop as you breathe out, longer than before, feeling your weight settle more fully into the floor. You don't have to fix anything tonight. You don't have to finish anything. In here, you can set things down. You move farther into the shop, senses adjusting to the darker corners and softer lamplight. The aisles form quiet little paths between shelves that rise almost to the ceiling, each shelf lined with books that lean together in easy company. A late evening stillness rests over the space. You hear pages turning somewhere out of sight, the faint scrape of a chair leg, the gentle thump of a hardcover being closed in a careful way. Above, thick beams cross the ceiling, their wood darkened and smoothed by decades. Between them, the plaster is uneven and lightly shadowed. Near one wall, you notice a small Kiva-style fireplace, its rounded opening dark tonight, while the metal stove carries the work of heating the room. The curve of the hearth, even unlit, adds to the sense that this place is meant for steady evenings and slow hours. You ease your hands out of your pockets and let them brush along the side of a shelf, fingertips barely grazing the line of books. Some covers are crisp and new, others softened at the edges, cloth worn thin in places where hands have lingered. The texture of it all, the paper, the fabric, the aged wood, gives your mind something gentle to rest on. As you turn down one of the aisles, the sounds outside fade to almost nothing. Whatever traffic this desert city is holding tonight feels very far away. The shop becomes your whole world for a while. Amber light, slow footsteps on tile, a stove ticking softly, and the quiet company of stories, waiting patiently on every side. The day that led you here begins to feel like a different weather pattern altogether, something left beyond the doorway, back where the snow is doing its patient work on the street. In here, you have time. You can unhurriedly choose where to stand, where to sit, where to let your attention land. Little by little, you notice that your breath has taken up a calmer rhythm, as if it's matching the shop's own slow, steady pace. The bookshop unfolds around you in layers of warm light and shadow, each step revealing a little more of its quiet geometry. Near the front windows, a pair of shaded lamps cast soft circles on a low display table, turning stacks of paperbacks into small, glowing hills. The glass panes above them are deep set into Adobe, and snow presses lightly against the outside of the sill. From inside, you can see the way it piles along the ledge, bright against the darker, snow-dampened street. The outside world feels about as cold as you expect for a late December night in this high desert town somewhere near freezing, where snowflakes can land and linger instead of melting right away. You sense it in the way the window glass holds a faint trace of frost at the edges, in the way your cheeks remember the bite of air from just a few minutes ago. But in here, the temperature is different, leveled to something that encourages muscles to let go and thoughts to stretch out. The small stove near the back wall gives a gentle ticking rhythm as it works, a slow metal contraction and expansion that never quite stops. A faint warmth radiates from it, reaching your hands even from a few steps away. On the low shelf beside it, a shallow metal tray holds a neat row of split wood, each piece stacked carefully, ready for later. The faint scent of past fires clings to the plaster above it, a memory of smoke rather than anything that fills the air now. You walk slowly down the main aisle, your shoes making a soft, almost hollow sound on the floor. The tiles are uneven in places, and every slight change in height gives you one more chance to feel the ground under you and be aware of where you are. It's a simple kind of awareness. Left foot, right foot, heel, toe, the gentle bend of your knees. The rhythm is unhurried, as if the space itself has decided there is no reason to move any faster. Shelves rise up around you, thick wooden boards that have carried the weight of books for years. Their surfaces are worn smooth at the edges where hands have brushed along, and you notice small differences in the grain knots here, a lighter streak of wood there. Some shelves bow ever so slightly in the middle, just enough to show how long they've been doing this work. The books themselves bring their own textures to the scene. Dust, jackets with soft gloss, cloth bindings faded in the places where fingers naturally rest, paperbacks whose spines have lines of use like smile marks. The colors are muted by the light, deep greens, browns, blues, and a few brighter covers scattered like small accents. Nothing shouts for attention. Everything waits patiently. From another aisle, a page turns and then another, each one making a quiet, papery sound. Someone clears their throat very softly. The bookshop owner moves somewhere back near the counter. You can hear the almost silent shift of weight on old floorboards, followed by the subtle click of a cash drawer sliding open and then closed again. Even those small noises feel softened, as if the thick Adobe walls gather them in and hold them with care. Overhead, vigas stretch from wall to wall, rough-hewn beams that catch the lamplight along their lower edges. Between them, the ceiling is finished in pale, slightly uneven plaster, the kind that shows every gentle curve. In some places, hairline cracks trace faint lines, not as flaws but as reminders that the building has been standing here through many seasons of snow and sun. The beams and plaster together give the room a feeling of being held inside something solid and time-tested. Near one corner, a narrow table sits under a reading lamp with a gently curved shade. The lamp throws a pool of light across the tabletop and onto the open book waiting there, making the print look crisp and inviting. A wooden chair with a worn seat cushion is pulled out just enough that you can picture someone having been there not long ago, leaning over a few quiet chapters while the snow began. As you pass, you trail your fingers a little closer to the spines, and one book gives under your touch, sliding almost imperceptibly against its neighbor. The movement is so small you barely feel it, but the sensation anchors you in this moment. You are here, now, in this particular bookshop, on this particular winter evening, and no one needs anything from you except that you stand where you are and let the calm gather. From the front windows, streetlight filters in, turned soft by snowflakes drifting past. You glance back that way for a moment and see a car move slowly along the street, its headlights diffused into gentle halos. The sound of its tires is dim, more of a distant sigh than anything distinct, and then it, too, has passed, leaving only the steady tick of the stove and the soft murmur of somebody turning another page. On a nearby counter, a small lamp with a green glass shade adds a more focused glow, highlighting a short stack of hardcovers and the smooth surface of the wooden top. Behind it, the wall is lined with framed prints and old posters, their edges just visible in the low light. The images are mostly shapes and colors now, more suggestion than detail, but their presence adds to the feeling that the shop has layers of stories even beyond the books themselves. The air holds a gentle mix of scents: dry paper, a hint of ink, the clean mineral smell that comes with tracked-in snow slowly melting off boots near the door. There's a faint trace of something citrusy from someone's drink earlier in the evening, now more memory than aroma. Each breath you take feels easier than the one before, your chest moving without effort, ribs expanding and settling with almost no thought from you at all. You take in the way the space is arranged, how the aisles are just wide enough for two people to pass with a careful sidestep, how the counter is placed so that the person working here can see both the front door and the small reading corner. It's the kind of layout that suggests years of adjustment until everything fits the rhythm of the place. Nothing feels sharp or rushed. Even the corners seem rounded by time. Out of the corner of your eye, you notice the bookshop owner again. They're smoothing a pile of receipts on the counter, aligning the edges with a simple, practiced motion. There's no hurry in it. When they glance up and catch your eye, they offer another small nod, a quiet acknowledgement that you are here and that your presence fits naturally into the evening. Then they return to their task, leaving the silence between you as gentle as the falling snow outside. You listen for a moment more. Stove tick, page rustle, low building creak as the temperature outside drops another degree and the old walls adjust. The sounds are soft and close, like the room itself is breathing slowly, in and out, in and out. In this light, with the temperature just right and the snow doing its steady work beyond the thick walls, the bookshop feels like a small harbor tucked into the desert night. There is nowhere you have to be except here between these shelves, with the simple comfort of knowing that the world outside can wait while you let yourself grow quieter. One breath, one slow step, one soft glance at a row of waiting books at a time. You stay where you are for a moment, between shelves and lamplight, letting the room's warmth settle more fully around you. After the chill of the evening streets, it feels like you've stepped into a pocket of gentle air that holds you without pressing, steady and kind. Your attention drifts down to your feet. They are planted on the tiled floor, toes loosened inside your shoes, heels supported. The tiles feel firm and reliable beneath you, not icy, not hot, simply solid. When you slowly shift your weight from one foot to the other, you notice the small roll through your ankles, the way your calves and knees follow along in an easy, unhurried chain. Higher up, your shoulders remember how much they have been carrying. Bags, tasks, conversations, the small stoop over screens and keys, they all live there. You give one shoulder a small roll back and down, then the other. The movement is subtle, but you feel its effect spreading along your upper back and into the base of your neck. The tightness there loosens by a degree or two, enough for your head to rest more comfortably above your spine instead of being held in place. You draw in a slow breath through your nose. The air still holds a faint thread of winter, cooled by the night outside but warmed by the thick walls and the steady stove. As you inhale, your chest lifts gently against the fabric of your clothing. As you exhale, longer and easier, you feel everything settle again: ribs, shoulders, jaw. Breath becomes something soft that moves through you instead of something you have to manage. Your hands drift out of your pockets. Fingers uncurl, and your sleeves brush your wrists as you move, the fabric still holding a trace of the chill from outside. The air around your hands feels warmer by comparison, quiet and soft. You notice the smooth dryness of your palms, the slight stiffness in your knuckles easing as you let your fingers hang loosely for a moment. One of the small lamps nearby glows in a mild circle, light pooling over the spines of the books in front of you. You raise a hand and let your fingertips touch one of the spines. The texture is subtle but clear. The fine grain of cloth, the hint of gloss from a jacket, the tiny ridge where the title has been pressed in. Your whole focus narrows to that point of contact, a single, uncomplicated sensation. Slowly, you slide the book from the shelf. It makes a soft, cardboard against cardboard sound, no louder than a whisper. The book has a comfortable weight in your hand, enough to feel, not enough to strain. Your thumb rests along the edge of the spine. Your other fingers support the cover. You notice how easily your wrists hold it, how your forearms relax instead of bracing. For a moment, you simply stand there, holding the book. The rest of the shop falls into a quiet backdrop. Shelves, light, faint sounds. Your arms cross loosely in front of you, the book resting against your chest. There is your body, warm under your clothes. There is the fabric itself. There is the firm plane of the cover. All three layers together create a gentle sense of being right here, in this one small patch of lamplight. In the background, the stove ticks again, a tiny metal sound that repeats at an unhurried pace. Somewhere high in the wooden beams, the building gives a faint creak as the cold outside shifts by a degree. None of this feels intrusive. The sounds are like the room's own breathing, regular and reassuring, reminding you that the space is looking after the warmth so you do not have to. You draw another breath, perhaps counting quietly in your mind as you inhale, then adding an extra beat or two on the exhale. Inside your chest, there is more room now. Your ribs move without effort, opening and closing like a small, calm door. Your shoulders stay lower. Your jaw stays loose. Drawn toward the reading table you noticed earlier, you begin to walk in that direction. Your steps are deliberate but slow, the kind of pace that never rushes your breath. The floor's uneven tiles give you small reminders to feel your feet. A slightly higher edge here, a slight dip there. Your coat brushes softly against your legs. A quiet, regular rustle that matches your rhythm. The book stays cradled in your arms, balanced without effort. At the table, you set the book down on the worn wooden surface. The wood is smooth from years of contact, faintly cool under your fingertips. You pull the chair out and ease yourself into it, letting your weight sink gradually into the cushion. The chair answers with a soft, familiar creak. Your back finds the support of the chair. Your shoulders rest against it and then stop trying so hard to hold themselves up. Your feet plant again on the floor, soles flat, knees easily bent. You lay your hands on your thighs, palms down, fingers naturally curved and relaxed. For a few breaths, you simply sit like this. You feel each place where your body touches something solid, the chair under you, the floor beneath your feet, the fabric beneath your fingers. Your breathing continues its slower pattern, in and out, as if it has learned the cadence of the room. Nothing in you is being asked to hurry. Somewhere behind you, water in a kettle shifts toward a simmer, a faint movement, and a low, promising sound. The thought of a warm mug between your hands drifts lightly through your mind, steam rising, ceramic pressing heat into your palms, warmth traveling along your fingers and up into your shoulders. you don't need to move toward it yet. It is enough, for now, to sit in this pool of light, fully present in your own quiet, resting body. From your seat at the little table, the shop feels like a small island of lamplight in the middle of the winter night. The wood beneath your hand is worn smooth in places, gently scratched in others, a record of cups and elbows and books that have rested here before you. From the counter comes the muted clink of ceramic, then the soft rush of water from a kettle. A thin thread of scent reaches you ginger first, brightened by a hint of lemon. The bookshop owner appears beside your table, sets a steaming mug down with practiced care, and gives you a small nod that feels like a wordless welcome. Steam curls upward in lazy spirals. You wrap your hands around the mug. Ceramic presses gently into your palms, warmth easing into your fingers and along your wrists. When you lift it, the tea moves quietly inside, and the steam meets you halfway. You take a slow sip. Ginger brushes your tongue with a soft tingle. Lemon adds a clean, gentle brightness, and the warmth travels down through your chest to settle in the center of you. By the time you set the mug down again, your shoulders have dropped without you even trying. For a few breaths, that is all you do. You sit, you breathe, and every so often you bring the mug back to your lips for another careful sip. Your gaze drifts across the nearest shelves, tracing the uneven line of spines. You notice clusters of browns and blues, softened reds, the occasional pale cover that catches more light. You do not need to read the titles. The shapes and colors themselves are enough to keep your eyes loosely occupied while the rest of you rests. When you feel ready to move, you set the mug down and stand, one hand briefly on the back of the chair, the other curled around the warm ceramic. You drift into the nearest aisle, unhurried. The tiles under your feet offer small reminders of each step, a slight rise here, a gentle dip there. On one side, older cloth-bound books stand shoulder to shoulder, their colors deepened with age. On the other, newer paperbacks sit in neat rows, their covers a touch more vivid in the amber light. The air shifts as you walk. You catch faint hints of paper and dust, a trace of ink, and the clean mineral edge of snow that once clung to boots near the door. As you pass the stove, a mild wave of heat brushes your legs, and the metal gives its steady tick, keeping quiet pace with the evening. Somewhere beyond a dividing shelf, a page turns, followed by the small adjustment of someone leaning back in a chair. Near the back wall, a section of used books waits in deeper shadow. Their spines are more worn, their pages a little softened at the edges, as if they have already been read in many different rooms. You set your mug on an empty patch of shelf and let your fingers travel along the row. One slim volume leans slightly out of line. Without needing to think about it, you pause there and ease it free. The faded cloth cover feels calm under your fingertips. When you open the book, the binding makes a small, stretching sound, like a quiet yawn. Inside the front cover, tucked neatly by the hinge, you notice something narrow peeking out, a sliver of card that would be easy to miss if you were moving quickly. You pinch it gently and slide it free. It is a bookmark from another shop. Whatever name was once printed there has been worn almost smooth. The colors have faded to softer shades. The corners have rounded off. Along one edge, the surface is slightly polished, as if a thumb has rested there through many evenings and many chapters. It weighs almost nothing in your hand, yet you can feel the suggestion of all the hours it has spent holding someone's place. You look at it for a quiet moment, then return it to where you found it, tucking it back between the same pages. When you close the bookmark vanishes from sight, but you know it is still there, a slender, hidden anchor resting inside the story. You slide the volume back into its space on the shelf and lift your mug again, the familiar warmth greeting your fingers. Your slow path leads you toward the front of the shop. Near the door, a simple wooden peg rack holds a single canvas tote. The bag hangs in an easy curve, as though it has learned that shape from being carried again and again. Its fabric has softened over time. Faint creases mark where it has been folded or slung over a shoulder, and along the top edge, the handles show small frays at the corners, threads lifting in gentle tufts without taking away their strength. You pause beside it. One handle has twisted slightly, as if a hand has just slipped out of the loop. For a moment, you imagine reaching up, feeling the worn strap under your fingers and the steady pull of weight if the bag were filled with books. You picture the soft thump it would make against your side as you walked home through the snow. A simple, solid companion. Beyond the hanging tote, the front windows reveal the street. Snow falls in a fine, steady curtain, blurring the edges of cars and rooftops. The sounds outside are muffled and low, pressed down by the weather and the thick walls, until they become nothing more than a distant hum. Out there, the night is cool and dim. In here, the warmth holds steady around you. High on the wall above the counter, a clock marks the moment with a single, careful tick. A breath later, the stove adds its own soft click. Between those two sounds lies a broad, gentle pause, filled with the faint rustle of pages and the soft hush of falling snow outside. The faded bookmark rests unseen in its book. The tote with frayed handles hangs patiently by the door. Your hands cradle the mug, heat seeping calmly into your fingers. You stay in that pause as long as you like, letting the room's quiet rhythm settle around you. There is nowhere you need to be except here, anchored by paper and fabric and warm ceramic, while the winter evening outside continues its slow, peaceful drift. The room holds its quiet, and you stand near the front windows a little longer, mug warming your hands, watching snow sift down through the streetlight glow. Each flake seems to slow the night a little more, until even the cars pass by in a muted glide. Behind you, shelves wait patiently, rows of spines catching the lamplight in soft bands. From the counter, the bookshop owner glances over and gives that same small, wordless nod. Then a voice, low and easy, reaches you across the space. "If you'd like," the owner says, "there's a used copy by the back table with an inscription inside the cover. I've always liked that one." The offer isn't urgent. It hangs in the air like an open door you can walk through whenever you feel ready. You take another breath, feeling the warmth of the ginger and lemon settle in your chest, then set the mug carefully on a nearby side table. As you move toward the back, the floor reminds you of its age, each board accepting your weight with a soft, familiar creak. The air deepens into the smell of paper and a hint of old glue, a quiet mix that feels steadier with every step. Near the rear wall, a small table waits under a narrow lamp, its shade tilted just enough to send a golden circle down onto a short stack of books. On top of the stack lies a hardcover, its jacket a little worn at the edges, corners softened from being picked up and set down many times. A handwritten note on a small, sticky tab clings to the front. Inscription: inside. The letters are neat and rounded, written in the same careful tone as the owner's voice. You pull the chair out with a gentle scrape and sit, letting your weight sink into the cushion. For a moment, your hands simply rest on the closed book, feeling the coolness of the cover under your palms. Your breathing falls into a comfortable pattern again, easy inhale, steadier exhale, as the wood stove ticks softly somewhere behind the shelves. When you're ready, you open the cover. The hinge moves with a quiet resistance, then yields. On the inside, on the pale paper of the end leaf, you find the inscription the owner mentioned. Blue ink, slightly faded, leans across the page at a kind angle. You take your time to read the inscription inside the cover. The words aren't complicated. A simple greeting, a date from a winter years ago, and a short line wishing slow evenings and good stories. Someone once gave this book as a gift and hoped it would bring the same kind of ease you're feeling now. Your eyes trace the handwriting slowly, noticing tiny pauses where the pen lifted, a small hesitation in the loop of a letter, the faint thickening where the writer pressed down at the end of a sentence. You follow each mark with quiet attention, as if reading the rhythm of the hand that wrote it, not just the message itself. After a while, you let your fingertips rest on the page beside the ink. The paper is matte and slightly textured, with a subtle give under your touch. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to solve. You are only sitting here with this book, seeing exactly what is in front of you. You read the inscription again, a little slower. The date, the name, the short wish for peaceful nights. Knowing what the words say doesn't make the second reading less gentle. It makes it softer. Each familiar phrase lands more quietly now, as if you've given it space to settle. Around you, the shop keeps its slow rhythm. Somewhere to your left, a page turns. A chair shifts. Snow outside presses the street into a deeper hush. The ticking of the stove keeps an even pace, like a metronome set for rest. You turn one more page, just enough to see the first printed lines of the story beyond the inscription, then let the book close again. The cover settles with a small, padded thump that sounds almost like a sigh. You place your palm on top, holding it there for a few breaths, as if sealing the quiet back inside. Your hands move without any rush. You straighten the book so its spine faces you, then open it once more, just to the inside cover. Slowly, almost ceremonially, you read the inscription inside the cover a final time. This time, your attention moves not only over the words but over what they offer, a wish that somehow reached you across years and shelves and owners. When you close the book again, the action feels like completing a small, kindly task that needed doing. The stack beside it looks a little more orderly now. You restack them, aligning edges with gentle taps. The table surface appears a bit clearer, the lamp's light less cluttered. Off to one side, near the end of the aisle, that canvas tote with its frayed handle still hangs on a wooden peg, quiet and unchanged. A different book, the one you looked at earlier with its hidden bookmark from another shop, leans neatly back in its row on the nearby shelf, as if keeping you company without asking for attention. You slide your hands to the edge of the table and stand slowly. The chair moves back with a soft scrape, then stops. Your fingers rest briefly along the spine of the inscribed book. A light farewell before you turn toward the front of the shop again. The small task has left the evening just a little more organized, a little more gentle, without you ever needing to hurry. You drift back toward the front, drawn by the thought of warmth in your hands again. The mug you left on the side table still waits where you set it. The tea inside a little cooler now. Steam no longer rises invisible, curls, but when you lift it, the ceramic still holds a lingering heat. The bookshop owner looks up from the counter, noticing the way you cradle the mug. "If you'd like a fresh cup," the owner says in that same quiet tone. "The kettle's just about ready in the back." A slight tilt of the head points the way toward a doorway behind the counter, its frame painted a soft, worn blue. You follow, carrying the empty mug now, and step through into a tiny back room that serves as a kind of kitchen. Adobe walls narrow the space into something that feels almost like a pocket in the building, snug and welcoming. Saltillo tiles underfoot are cool but not cold, their surfaces smoothed by years of use. On a small counter, a basic electric kettle sits beside a row of mismatched mugs and a few simple jars. One jar holds loose ginger, thin slices catching the light where the lid is off. Another has dried lemon rounds, translucent along the edges. A third is labeled in small, careful letters, "Tea bags, just in case." The kettle clicks off with a soft sound, then settles into a faint hum. The owner steps aside and lets you move closer, as if the ritual is yours to carry out. Your mug, now empty, feels light in your hand as you set it down next to the jars. You pick up a jar of ginger and ease the lid the rest of the way off. A bright, spicy scent rises, clean and warm without being sharp. From the lemon jar, you choose a thin slice with a little bit of rind still attached, the peel slightly curled. The simple act of selecting them feels unhurried, almost ceremonial. The owner holds out a small spoon. "Take your time," comes the gentle suggestion, and then the owner busies themselves quietly at a nearby shelf, giving you the space of the counter. You place a slice of ginger in the bottom of your mug, then set the lemon slice on top, the rind resting against the curve of ceramic. Steam begins to push from the spout of the kettle as you lift it. The handle is warm but not too hot, the weight familiar in your grip. Water streams into the mug in a clear line. As it hits the ginger and lemon, the scents bloom, rising in a soft wave. You pour slowly, watching the liquid rise until it's just shy of the rim. A faint swirl of color appears where the ginger and lemon meet the water, shading it from clear to a gentle, pale gold. You set the kettle back in its place and simply watch the mug for a moment. Tiny bubbles cling to the fruit and then release, drifting up in lazy spirals. A thin ribbon of steam curls into the air, then disappears as it meets the cooler room above it. Your hands fold around the mug again. This time the heat is more immediate, reaching your palms and spreading through your fingers. The warmth creeps up into your wrists, then into your forearms, like a small, slow flood moving through you. The tiled floor anchors your feet while the clay walls hold the warmth close. You bring the mug toward your face, not to drink yet, but to breathe. Ginger meets you first, bright and steady, followed by the softer edge of lemon, clean and calm. You let your next inhale pass through that warm air, then let your exhale drift out in a longer, slower breath than before. A small, well-used spoon rests on the counter. You lift it and give the tea a gentle stir, slow enough that you barely move the liquid. The lemon slice turns once, ginger nudging against the ceramic with a muted tap. You set the spoon aside again, its faint ring on the counter quickly swallowed by the quiet of the room. When you finally take the first sip, you do it carefully. The liquid touches your lips with a pleasant heat, not too hot, but warm enough to make you pause. On your tongue, the ginger feels like a soft, steady warmth, and the lemon adds just enough brightness to keep it from being heavy. The warmth moves down your throat, settles into your chest, and spreads outward in a comfortable, slow glow. You take another sip, smaller this time, and then rest the mug against your chest, cradled in both hands. In the doorway, you can see back into the shop, rows of books, the soft oval of lamplight at the reading table, the hint of your chair still turned slightly out. Near the front, the canvas tote with frayed handles hangs in its place beside the door, a quiet shape against the wall. The owner steps closer, drying their hands on a small towel. "Good temperature?" they ask, voice soft, more like a shared thought than a question. You nod, and that is enough. The conversation doesn't need more than that to feel complete. You stand there for a while longer, sipping now and then. Each swallow is slow. Each breath in between has more room. The walls keep their gentle color. The ceiling beams overhead feel steady and uncomplicated. You notice a simple calendar tacked to the wall, a small clock above it ticking so quietly you almost miss it. When the mug is about half empty, the tea cools slightly, shifting from hot to comfortably warm. The ginger softens. The lemon becomes a faint echo instead of a clear note. You rest the base of the mug on the counter and let your fingers remain around it, the ceramic now more soothing than intense. Eventually, you carry the mug back out into the main room, moving as slowly as the steam that still rises in thin wisps. You set it on the small table near your chair, where the light from the lamp catches the soft gold surface. Outside, snow continues to fall, quieter now, as if the whole street has decided to match your pace. You sit once more, hands loose in your lap, the warmth of the tea lingering in your chest and along your fingers. The stove ticks behind the shelves. A page turns somewhere nearby. You let your gaze rest on nothing in particular and feel the gentle ritual you've just completed settling into you, easing the evening a few degrees closer to rest. You sit with the mug on the small table beside you, fingers resting loosely in your lap. The last of the warmth lingers in your chest, a quiet glow that feels steady rather than bright. The shop is hushed in that late evening way, sounds thinned out to only what they need to be. The stove ticks from behind the shelves. Someone near the front clears a throat softly and then settles again. Outside, snow continues its slow descent, visible through the front window as drifting white against the darker street. You watch the surface of the tea for a moment. A faint ring of steam still rises, just enough to blur the lamplight reflected there. Your hand moves almost on its own, lifting the mug, thumb finding the same spot on the handle as before. The ceramic presses into your fingers with a gentle, familiar weight. When you sip, the tea is pleasantly warm. The ginger has softened. The lemon is more suggestion than flavor now. It's the kind of warmth that doesn't demand your attention, only keeps you company. The owner approaches along the aisle, steps barely audible on the tile. They pause a respectful distance away, hands resting lightly on the back of a nearby chair. When they speak, the voice is low and even, made for small rooms and long evenings. "You look like you found your corner," they say, a hint of a smile in the words. You nod, the motion small. "It's a good one," you answer, your own voice naturally dropping to match the quiet around you. It feels easy to speak softly here. Anything louder would seem out of place. The owner's gaze flicks to your mug. Tea doing its job? It is. The ginger helps me slow down. Winter does that too, they reply. But the tea is kinder about it. The two of you share a soft, brief smile. There's no need to keep the exchange going, yet it doesn't feel like it has to end either. Silence settles again between you, more like a comfortable cushion than an empty space. You glance toward the back of the shop, where the table with the inscribed book sits under its narrow lamp. The owner follows your eyes. "Did you see the writing inside that one?" they ask. You nod again. "I read it. More than once." "Good," they say quietly. Feels like those words should be read every so often. Your fingers tighten very slightly around the mug, not from tension, but from a small, quiet recognition. You know what it's like for kind words to be written and then tucked away somewhere, waiting for someone to find them. "Do you read a lot here?" you ask. The owner lifts one shoulder in a mild shrug. "Enough," they murmur. "Mostly I listen. The building has its stories. The books handle the rest." You imagine the sound of all those stories layered in the walls, not as noise, but as a soft, steady presence. People arriving, choosing a book, coming back in different seasons, leaving a note, a bookmark, a memory. Your own thoughts drift along with that idea. You picture yourself returning here on other winter evenings. Snow pressing the city into quiet, the same lamp waiting over this same table. The image feels natural, as if it might already have happened. "You picked a good night," the owner adds, voice even softer now. The snow keeps everything slower. No rush, no hurry, just the stove and the shelves. You breathe in, shallow but easy, then let the air go in a slow stream. "It's nice to have a place like this," you say, the words coming out almost as a thought. The owner seems to accept this more than hear it, nodding once. "That's all I wanted it to be," they say. "Somewhere you can set things down for a while." The phrase lands gently. Set things down. It feels like you've been doing that since you stepped inside, little by little. Bags you've been carrying in your mind. Thoughts about tomorrow. Noise from earlier in the day. All of it has softened at the edges. You take another sip of tea. Smaller this time. Your tongue recognizes the flavor before your mind has to name it. Warmth spreads again through your chest and up into your shoulders, loosening them further against the chair. "I'll let you drift," the owner says, stepping back a little. If you need anything, just lift a hand. I'll see it. You nod, grateful for the permission to sink back into quiet. They move away, returning to the counter, sorting a few slips of paper with slow, deliberate motions. The sound of pages turning somewhere in the shop becomes more distinct without voices in the foreground. Your thoughts thin out. They don't disappear. They just move to a softer level, like light turned down a notch. You pay attention to simple things instead: the feel of the mug's handle against your fingers, the weight of your body in the chair, the distant hush of snow at the windows. You notice that your breathing has adopted the rhythm of the room. In, calm and steady. Out, a little longer, like a sigh that doesn't need to say anything. There's a sense of being held, not by any one person, but by the space itself, by the way it has been arranged and tended and warmed. The world outside feels very far away now, as if it belongs to a different hour. Here, in this lamplight and wood and quiet, time has gone soft around the edges. Your mind begins to drift in a gentle, wandering way, ready for whatever memory decides to rise next, so long as it comes slowly and kindly. Your gaze settles on the mug again, on the pale gold of the tea and the thin wisp of steam that still curls up into the lamplight. You watch it for a few breaths, and somewhere in that slow watching, a memory begins to surface. It starts with the fabric of a bag. In your mind, you feel the pull of canvas against your shoulder, the sway of weight at your side as you walk along a winter sidewalk. You don't leave your chair or your mug. You only allow the feeling to float up and hover there, like a picture held at arm's length. The tote hanging by the door catches your actual eye, the one with the frayed handles and soft folds from years of use. The way it hangs now, easy and patient, matches the memory almost exactly. You remember other evenings when you've carried a bag like that home from a shop, the bottom heavy with books, the strap warmed by your gloved hand. In those remembered walks, the same kind of snow fell, fine and steady, feathering the air without wind. Streetlights turned each flake into a brief glint before it disappeared into the growing layer on the ground. You recall the sound of your own steps, the cushioned crunch of fresh snow mixed with the softer patches where others had already passed. The thought of the tote is linked, in your mind, with the simple comfort of knowing what it holds. Sturdy hardcovers tucked against each other, paperbacks with folded corners, maybe a receipt slipped into a side pocket. The memory carries no rush, no urgency, only the steady, content feeling of taking something home that you chose carefully for yourself. Your attention drifts then to the shelves near the back, where that slim volume rests with its hidden bookmark. You picture yourself standing there earlier tonight, pulling the book free, feeling the cloth under your fingertips. The moment was small, but now it opens wide in your mind, showing more than it did while it was happening. You see again the narrow strip of card with its faded colors, its worn edges. You remember how light it felt in your hand, as if all the evenings it had marked had been gently stored inside it. A memory rises to meet it. Another thin card in another book, discovered on some past day. Different shop, maybe, but with the same kind of quiet and the same kind of light. You recall standing between shelves, much like these, turning a page and finding a small surprise tucked inside. Someone's handwritten line, a date, a pressed leaf, crisp, but intact. You remember the feeling that came with that discovery, not amazement, not even curiosity. Exactly, just a soft sense of sharing a moment with someone you would never meet. Here, tonight, the bookmark you found fits into that same gentle pattern. It doesn't demand a story. It doesn't ask to be understood. It simply exists, carrying traces of other hands and other nights. Thinking of it now, while you sit with your tea, you feel a quiet thread connecting this evening to those others, woven not through big events, but through small, steady gestures. You blink slowly, eyes moving between the shelf where the book rests and the door where the tote hangs. Both anchors are still, almost unnoticed in the room's arrangement, yet they stand out to you now like calm notes in a song you know by heart. The tote suggests motion, walks through snow, the soft thump of books against your side. The bookmark suggests stillness, held between pages, waiting for a reader to return. Between the two, a whole landscape of gentle habits emerges, choosing a book, carrying it home, opening it later under a lamp, placing something between the pages when your eyes grow heavy. Your mind drifts further out, skimming over scenes that feel familiar even if you can't place them exactly in time. You see a small living room with a simple couch, a lamp on a side table, the same canvas bag leaning against a chair leg. You see a hand, maybe yours, maybe someone else's, reaching for a book, finding the rough edge of a bookmark, sliding it down to a later chapter. The memory never sharpens into a single, specific moment. It stays soft at the edges, like the view through the snowy windows tonight. That softness is part of what makes it soothing. You don't need to pin it down. It is enough to feel that you have known evenings like this before and will know them again. In the present, the shop breathes around, to you. The stove ticks. The clock on the wall marks out another quiet minute. A car passes outside, its tires whispering over the wet street. The sound fades quickly, wrapped in the snow and the thick walls. You look once more at the book's aisle. You can almost see, without moving, the exact spot on the shelf where the slim volume with its hidden card stands. You think of the inscription you read earlier, those simple wishes for slow evenings and good stories. The bookmark and the inscription feel like parts of the same gentle idea, that someone, at some time, wanted a night very much like the one you're having. Your gaze slips back to the tote. In the lamplight, the frayed threads on the handles catch a soft glow. They don't mark the bag as worn out. They mark it as used and trusted. Threads lifting, fabric softened, shape learned over time. It seems ready to be taken down from the peg whenever you're ready to go, though there's no need to think about leaving yet. You take another sip of tea. It's cooler now, but still pleasant. The ginger and lemon have merged into something quiet and rounded. As you swallow, the warmth returns in a subtler way, less a bright line and more a low, comforting tide. The memory of all those walks, all those books, all those small discoveries folds itself gently back into the present. You're not reliving them now. You're resting beside them, letting them sit near you like old friends who don't need conversation. The tote stays on its peg. The bookmark stays in its book. You stay in your chair, mug in hand, surrounded by shelves and soft light and the steady, snowy night. Everything is in its place, and the past and present touch each other only lightly, the way a page touches the one beside it, turning without hurry toward whatever comes next. The tea has cooled to a gentle warmth now, its surface quiet under the lamplight. You take one last slow sip, feeling the softened ginger and lemon move through you in a calm, familiar way. When you set the mug down, the porcelain makes a soft sound against the table, a small note in the larger hush of the room. The shelves around you feel settled, their lines of spines resting in the amber light. The stove ticks from somewhere behind them, metal adjusting in tiny, steady movements. Outside, snow continues its even fall, pressing the street into deeper quiet. You let your hands rest on your thighs for a moment, palms open. Your breathing has taken on the pace of the room, smooth in, slightly longer out. When you finally rise from the chair, it's with the same unhurried motion, the cushion exhaling a little as your weight leaves it. You pick up the mug and carry it toward the back. The floor tiles remind you of their unevenness, each small dip and rise grounding you with every step. At the far wall, the reading table waits under its narrow lamp, the inscribed book still resting in its place on the stack. You pause there first, setting the mug on a bare corner of the table. The book lies closed now, its cover square with the edges of the others. You place your fingertips on it, feeling the cool, faintly textured surface. The memory of the ink inside the cover rises again, the simple wish for slow evenings and good stories, and you stand with that for a breath or two. With a small, careful motion, you lift the book, straighten the pages against your palm, and then return it to the stack. You nudge the edges of the pile until they align neatly, each cover making a soft, sliding sound against the next. It's a tiny adjustment, but it leaves the table looking gently ordered, ready for the next pair of hands. The chair you used sits slightly askew. You slide it back under the table, letting the legs find their familiar grooves in the tiles. The lamp's light pools more evenly now, falling on smooth wood instead of scattered shapes. You stand for another moment, taking in the small patch of tidiness you've made. At the back of the room, a simple sink and counterweight near the doorway into the kitchen. You carry your mug there, the handle warm against your fingers where the tea has just been. You rinse it under a thin stream of water, watching the last pale gold swirl away. The sound of the tap is clear but quiet, echoing only faintly against the Adobe walls. You set the mug upside down on a small towel to dry. Its circle joins a neat row of faint rings already pressed into the cloth, traces of other evening's tea. When you step back, the counter looks calm, nothing out of place, every object where it expects to be. The bookshop owner appears near the doorway, wiping their hands on a folded towel. Their voice is soft when they speak, meant for the room more than for any one person. "Thank you," they say, "for taking care with things." You offer a small smile. "Thank you for the quiet." You answer, and the words feel exactly right, simple, no more than needed. They nod once, accepting the exchange like another small act of putting things in their place. "You're always welcome to it," they reply. You move back through the aisles toward the front of the shop. The light is lower here now. A few lamps have been switched off, leaving gentle shadows in the upper shelves. The remaining light seems warmer, more concentrated, the kind of glow that signals the day is folding itself away. Near the door, The canvas tote still hangs from its peg, its frayed handles resting in their familiar curve. You notice it in passing, the way you might notice a familiar face at the edge of a crowd present, comforting, needing nothing from you. On the shelf beyond, somewhere toward the back, the slim book with its hidden bookmark stands among the others, returned to its quiet place. You stop by one last display table, running a fingertip along the smooth edge of the wood. The grain feels fine under your skin, worn down by years of similar gestures. You take one slow breath there, feeling a kind of inward nod toward the space itself, an unspoken thank you for the warmth, the pages, the shelter from the cold night. At the counter, the owner straightens a small stack of receipts and dims another lamp. The stove's ticking seems louder for a moment as the room grows darker at the edges. You step closer, resting your hand lightly on the counter's worn surface. "Good night," you say, voice naturally low. "Good night," they answer. "Walk slow, the snow's worth noticing." You agree with a quiet nod, then turn toward the door. Your coat waits on a hook nearby, its fabric cool to the touch. You slip your arms into the sleeves, pull it around you, and zip it up with an easy, unhurried motion. Gloves slide over your hands, soft lining closing around your fingers. When you open the door, a thin curl of cold air slides in, brushing your face and wrists. The bell above gives a small, familiar chime, muted by the thick walls. You step out onto the sidewalk, and the door closes behind you with a gentle click, sealing in the warmth and lamplight. Outside, the snow lies in a soft layer along the street, glowing faintly under the lamps. The air is crisp, just below freezing, cool enough that each breath shows in a pale cloud. The sound of the city has thinned to almost nothing, just the distant hum of a car, the faint hiss of tires over damp pavement. You stand for a moment on the quiet street, looking back at the windows. From here, the shop is a warm rectangle of light in the adobe wall, books only dim shapes behind the glass. You feel a small wave of gratitude for the room, the stove. You let that feeling settle in your chest like another kind of warmth. Then you turn and begin to walk, your steps slow and even. Snow compresses softly under your boots, leaving a clean line of prints behind you. The air brushes your cheeks with its coolness, but your core stays warm. The buildings along the street rise in quiet shapes, their walls catching the dull glow of the lamps. A few windows are lit, golden squares in the dark, curtains drawn partway. You pass by them at your own pace, each step another small act of putting the day away. At the end of the block, a narrow stairway leads up beside a quiet doorway. A small light over the entrance glows steady and mild. You climb the steps slowly, one hand resting on the rail, feeling the subtle roughness of old wood under your glove. At the top, a simple door waits. You slip off one glove to feel the key more clearly, the cool metal fitting into your fingers. The lock turns with a soft, practiced click. As you push the door open, warm air, faintly scented with fabric and clean soap, moves out to meet you. You step inside and close the door gently behind you. The night stays on the other side, cool and quiet. Here, another kind of quiet begins, one made for sleeping. The small room greets you with a soft, even warmth. thick walls have held the heat close, and the chill from outside stops just inside the door. You stand for a moment in the entry, letting your body catch up with the shift from snowy street to sheltered space. A narrow mat rests on the floor by the door. You toe off your boots, one at a time, feeling the release in your feet as they meet the firmer surface underneath. Damp from melted snow glistens faintly along the soles before it begins to dry. You line the boots side by side on the mat, their laces loose and easy. Your coat comes next. You unfasten it slowly, listening to the soft rasp of the zipper, then slide your arms out of the sleeves. The weight leaves your shoulders, and your posture softens another notch. You hang the coat on a hook, smoothing the fabric once with your palm. Your scarf follows, looped loosely over the same hook, edges dangling in a relaxed curve. The room is simple: a small table by the window, a chair, a low dresser, and a bed tucked under the far wall. A single lamp on the table casts a warm, steady light, filling the space with a gentle amber tone. The linens on the bed appear pale in that glow, edges soft, the surface slightly rumpled from being turned down earlier. You cross to the table, your socks whispering lightly over the floor. The remnants of another evening, a folded note, a pen, a small dish, rest near the lamp. You make a small space among them and imagine setting down a book there, should you choose to bring one from the shop later. For now, the surface is clear enough, ready for whatever you might place upon it. The window beside the table is set deep into the wall. You move closer and look out. From here, you can see the faint, familiar glow of the shop's windows down the street, blurred by distance and gently veiled by the falling snow. The glass holds a thin chill when you touch it with your fingertips, cool but not biting. You unlatch the window and crack it open just a little. A thin ribbon of cold air slips in, carrying with it the clean scent of snow and night. It brushes your face, your hands, then diffuses into the warmer air of the room. The balance between the two feels just right: enough freshness to breathe, enough warmth to rest. Turning back toward the bed, you take your time. The frame is low and simple, the kind that doesn't draw attention to itself. A sturdy blanket lies over the top sheet, its surface showing the faint weave of the fabric. At the head of the bed, a single pillow waits, plump and even, the pillowcase smooth and slightly cool to the touch. You sit on the edge of the mattress first, testing the give. It yields slowly under your weight, welcoming rather than swallowing. Your shoulders unwind another degree as your spine relaxes into the gentle support. You rest your hands on either side of you, fingers spreading slightly over the blanket, feeling its texture under your palms. The last pieces of the waking routine happen almost on their own. You set your phone, already quiet, face down on the table. You turn the lamp switch, then leave it, so the light remains, but the gesture is done. In the small bathroom, you move through washing up at an easy pace, the feel of water on your face, the soft roughness of a towel, the mint of toothpaste that fades quickly, leaving only clean stillness behind. When you return to the bed, the room seems even calmer. The lamp's light is a little softer now, reaching into corners without revealing every detail. Outside, the street is nearly silent. Snow keeps drifting down, a steady, soundless curtain between you and the outer world. You pull back the blanket and slide under it, easing your legs between the layers of fabric. The sheet is cool against your skin at first, then begins to warm almost immediately. You stretch out slowly, toes pointing, then relax them, letting your ankles fall into their natural, easy position. Your head meets the pillow with a small, yielding dip. The filling shifts to hold the shape of your skull and neck, supporting without pushing. You turn your head slightly to one side, cheek resting in a smooth patch of pillowcase that feels pleasantly cool. The scent here is faint, clean cotton and a trace of something like sunlight that has dried on cloth and stayed. The blanket's weight settles along your body. It's not heavy, but it is present, a gentle, even pressure from shoulders to feet. It tells your muscles that they can stop holding themselves up, that gravity and fabric will do that now. Your arms find their place by your sides or folded loosely over your middle, whichever feels easier. From the cracked window, a small breath of night air continues to enter, so subtle it is almost a thought. It moves over your face when you inhale, along your neck and the edge of the pillow when you exhale. The rest of the room stays warm, the thicker air holding you while that cool ribbon keeps the space from becoming too still. You notice your breathing again, in through your nose, gentle and unforced, out through your mouth or nose, whichever feels more natural, a fraction longer on the exhale. Your chest rises and falls in a slow, even rhythm. The air feels simple and good, sliding in and out without any effort from you. With your eyes half lidded or closed, you can still picture the shop down the street. Shelves in lamplight, a stove ticking, a canvas tote on a hook by the door, a quiet book with a small inscription inside the cover. All of it remains there, just as it was, even as your body lies here, wrapped in cotton and warmth. The images drift by like slow-moving clouds, changing shape without meaning to go anywhere. You don't have to follow them. You can let them pass, one by one, while you stay where you are, feeling the bed under you, the pillow beneath your head, the blanket over you. Every so often, a small sound reaches you, a car far away, its tires faint against the snow, the soft tick of the room's little heater, the almost inaudible whisper of the curtain shifting near the open sliver of window. None of it asks anything of you. Each sound is just a reminder that the world continues at a slower, gentler pace outside your immediate circle of light. You let your attention move through your body, not from duty, but from curiosity. Feet, warm under the blanket. Calves, resting. Knees, unbent and easy. Hips supported. Spine lengthening a little as muscles let go. Shoulders heavier against the mattress. Jaw loose. Tongue resting without effort. The lamp still glows beside you, but your eyes grow less interested in the details it reveals. You know you can reach up and turn it off when you're ready. For now, it can stay on a little longer. A small sun inside this winter room. You take one more aware breath, noticing the way the air feels cool at the tip of your nose and slightly warmer when it leaves. After that, you don't need to notice every breath. They come on their own, steady and sure, as the room settles into its own quiet night and you rest within it, already drifting towards sleep. You lie very still, the blanket resting evenly along your body, the pillow cradling your head. The room is dim and warm, the lamp a small sun at your side. With your eyes closed, the darkness behind them slowly fills with shapes and gentle scenes, drifting in like quiet weather. First comes the street. Snow falls through the cone of a lamppost, flakes catching the light before they disappear into the soft layer already on the ground. The adobe walls along the sidewalk hold a muted glow, edges blurred by the quiet storm. The bookshop's windows shine in the distance, two warm rectangles set into the thick wall, their light spilling onto the whitened pavement. You see yourself walking there again, but from far away, your steps slow, your breath rising in faint clouds. There is no effort in the image, only the sense of being guided back toward a place that feels safe. The picture shifts without you trying to change it. The street and buildings fade, and now you're looking out over the high desert at night. Low hills roll away under the dark, the snow lying in thin, uneven patches across the ground. Juniper and pinyon stand quiet, branches dusted in pale powder that catches what little light there is. Above them, a break in the clouds reveals a softened moon, not bright enough to wake you, just enough to pale the edges of distant ridges. In the thin, cold air, everything seems close and clear, yet also very far from anything hurried. The hills dim and the room around you comes back for a moment, the faint line of cool air from the cracked window, the warm weight of the blanket, the steady support of the mattress under your spine. Your breathing matches that slow landscape rising like the slope of a ridge, falling like snow settling into its own shape. Another image arrives, this one from inside the bookshop. You see the reading table at the back, a small pool of light under the narrow lamp. The inscribed book sits on top of the stack, its cover facing up, edges aligned with quiet care. Beside it, the slim volume with the hidden bookmark stands upright on the shelf, spine turned outward, as if it's gently watching the room. You picture the faded card inside, resting between the pages, finally still after being found and read and returned. In this nighttime version, it doesn't feel like something left over. It feels like it has been given a place again. Your attention lingers on that image, the card, softened by time, now lying flat and calm in its book. The words you read earlier drift through your mind, not as sharp lines, but as a warm blur of intention. Slow evenings, good stories, the wish that someone might have nights just like this one. The bookmark no longer seems tied only to the past. It feels part of tonight now, folded into the quiet you're resting in. The scene widens a little. You see the front of the shop from inside, the door with its small bell above it, the peg rack beside it. The canvas tote hangs there, handles slightly more relaxed now, their frayed threads soft in the low light. In your drifting thoughts, the bag has changed just a bit since you last stood under it. It looks more like yours, as if it has already gone home with you once or twice and returned, familiar with the trip through snow and back again. It hangs easy and empty, ready for another evening when you'll slide books into it and carry them through the quiet streets. The The picture of the tote stays with you as the shop fades. For a moment, you see it by your own door in this room, resting against the wall, a few fine flakes of snow still melting from its bottom seam. Inside it, a book waits with a thin card pressed between its pages, holding your place for some future night. The image is simple and comforting. A bag, a book, a promise of more gentle hours in lamplight. Then that, too, softens, and you are back inside your room fully. You can still feel the thread that connects the images, the glowing windows, the quiet hills, the resting bookmark, the easy curve of the tote's handles, but they no longer ask for your attention. They settle into the background of your mind like embers in a stove, warm but no longer bright. You notice once more the cool brush of air at the edge of the blanket, where it meets your chin. The rest of you is held in warmth, pillow beneath your head, mattress under your shoulders and hips, blanket along your legs and feet. Your hands lie where they chose to rest, fingers loose, palms neither reaching nor holding. Around you, the night runs at its own slow tempo. Snow keeps falling somewhere out there beyond the walls. The quiet bookshop sits with its lamps turned low, tote on its peg, bookmark asleep between pages. Your room mirrors that same stillness. One light, one bed, one person breathing steadily in the dark. Images may continue to rise and float past streets, shelves, hills, small acts of carrying and keeping, but they feel less and less important. What remains, growing clearer as everything else fades, is the simple sense of being gently held in this moment, in this room, in this body that is ready to rest. The lamp beside you is still on, but its glow feels softer now, like light seen through half-closed eyes. You don't need to look at it. You can feel it, a quiet warmth at the edge of your awareness, the way you can sense a nearby hearth without turning toward it. Your body has settled fully into the bed. The pillow supports the curve of your neck. The blanket lies in an easy weight along your shoulders and legs. The air from the cracked window brushes your face in a thin, cool thread, and the room's warmth folds itself gently around everything else. Breath moves in and out without effort. You notice it only in glimpses, a slightly cooler touch at your nostrils as you inhale, a softened warmth as you exhale. Each breath arrives, lingers, and then leaves, making more space inside you for stillness. Somewhere down the street, the bookshop rests in the snow, its windows dark now, shelves standing in patient rows, a tote hanging quietly by the door, a faded bookmark sleeping between pages. They have come this far with you and can stay where they are, at ease in the night. Here, in your own small room, there is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to remember. The day is already behind you. Tomorrow hasn't started yet. There is only this gentle warmth, this slow air, this steady, easy heart. You let your attention soften around the edges. The room, the bed, the night outside all slide a little farther away, while comfort moves nearer. Breath in, soft and simple. Breath out, longer and looser, like a quiet sigh that carries you gently onward. And as your breathing finds its quiet rhythm, you rest inside it, warm and unhurried, drifting deeper into the kind, dark silence of sleep.